Let's see if we can't get my 1968 Chevy C20 running. Good afternoon, folks. Today we are going to work on something that's near and dear to my heart. My first vehicle, my 1968 Chevrolet C20. That's right, a 3/4 ton vehicle, not a C10. We don't mess around with those half-ton guys. But today we're going to be working on getting that C20 out of the barn. This thing has been sitting in the barn for some time now. As you can see, it is very dusty. I've got stuff piled all over it, stuff leaning up against it. I don't know if it'll run. I don't know if the battery's charged. I don't know if the oil is good. Let me tell you guys a story on this thing. This was my first vehicle. I bought it when I was about 15 years old. I was in high school. I drove it for about 1.5 or 2 years. And I took the small block out and I put a big block in it because we all want more horsepower, right? And when you're in high school, you can afford to build a really nice big block. So I did that. I built a really nice big block and proceeded to blow it up after 8 miles of driving it. I spun a main bearing on the crankshaft. Then I had to build it again, and this time I built a nicer big block with one of my buddies from high school, who was actually the previous owner of the Impala, my race car, my 1965 Impala SS. So he and I built this nice big block for this machine, and we put it in here, and this doesn't even have 1,000 miles on it since then. That was 11 years ago. Been a while. So I brought this thing with me to North Dakota, where it sat around, never drove for a year. Then I moved it to my second place in North Dakota, where it sat around and didn't move for like 4 years. And then I brought it to my house when I bought my house, and it sat in the garage there for 2 more years. And then I got it running and driving-ish, and drove it like 300 miles. And then I sold my house and I moved to a buddy's place, and then I put this in a semi-trailer for storage, where it sat there for about a year, 1.5 maybe. And then I drove it from his house to here, which was 35 miles or so. And it has been sitting here for a little over 1.5 years. So it has been a lot of places, and it has not driven that much. It is 3:42 in the afternoon. My goal today is to have this thing running and driving by tonight. And I can't stay up late. It's still a school night. It's only Thursday. So let's see if we can make that happen. Let's see what we got going on in this thing. We got some freaking awesome, super bitchin' LED halo ring headlights. I don't know. Everybody's young and dumb at one point in their life. We've got awesome heavy-duty transmission cooler, which is held up by equally heavy-duty zip ties. You know, that ain't going nowhere. We have a moustache, because it's a male. We've got dust, dust, dust. Check out the dust. Dang! Incredible! This thing's been sitting in the barn for a good while. We've got complete with toolbox. We have all sorts of, you know, really nice trinkets and stuff in the box. 5-gallon pail of empty pail of what was hydraulic oil. We've got a spare inner fender for this thing. Looks like we got a camping chair. Some electrical components back here for wiring my various vehicles. We've got the spare tire out of one of the scrap cars that are in the trees. Some jack stands that I would not let anybody work on because I value their life more than mine. Another empty 5-gallon pail, some paperwork for when I'm sold my house. Anything good in here? O2 sensor, vacuum plugs, some welding gloves, crushed up beer can, looks like. So that's pretty cool. A couple belts. Never know when a belt's gonna come in handy. What else do we got? Bondo. Nice. It's not an old vehicle unless it's completely full of Bondo. I did that myself in high school, so I only have myself to blame for that. We've got complete with pinstriping. The pinstriping I actually do kind of like on this thing. It's pretty cool. We even have the hand-painted Chevrolet with the black outline. I think that is super cool. Not a whole lot of rust on this rig. There is some in the tailgate here. And then there's some in the front panel behind that toolbox, like right on the top. And that's about it for rust. It's pretty clean. Rockers have been done. You can see the rockers are super solid. Been done already. Probably full of Bondo, but you know, that's how old cars work. Cab corners are good. They've probably been done at some point. Hopefully those aren't full of Bondo also, but you know, you never know with these old cars what's been done, not done. You just don't know. Interior of this thing, we got door panel on this side, no door panel on that side, because why would you have one on the driver's side? Lets all the cold air cool you down. Carpet kit, pretty decent seat. We've got a newer steering wheel, we've got newer dash, we've got one of those cool like auto sound radios, I think they're called, where it looks like a old radio but it's not. We have my pickup used to be a 4-speed. Now it's well, it still is a 4-speed, but now it's an automatic 4-speed. It's a 4L80E. We'll get into that a little bit later. I do have a new dash pad for it back here because this one's cracked. It's not really the end of the world, but I got the dash pad, just never put it in. Sliding back window. We do have a headliner because, you know, I'm classy like that. This trim I bought, I think on LMC, and it doesn't fit that great, but it's up there. Dome light, I think I converted that to LED. It does have the optional cargo light in the back, which is not totally functional. I don't know why I messed that up, but I did. So we've got cargo light that's not functional, but it is an option on this, or on these, I should say. Glove box door, I repainted that when I was in high school. Really did a pretty terrible job. And I'm missing the Chevrolet logo that goes right there on the dash. This is a non-AC vehicle, so we do not have any air conditioning. A little rear view mirror that I put on when I was in high school. Like I said, we got no door panel over there. We do have a Sun Pro Tac. Let's move on to the engine bay. This is where the kind of cool stuff comes into play. Zeus, what do you think about my pickup, buddy? You excited to ride in this thing? Huh? You excited to ride in this thing? I bet you're not. Yeah, he's got better stuff to do. This is where the more exciting stuff comes into play. See my coolant overflow bottle. Just a old antifreeze bottle. Got to keep the fluids in line, you know? We do have blue spark plug wires with blue boots because race car. We've got our 14-inch Edelbrock air cleaner complete with stickers because race car. We've got chrome pulleys and chrome brackets and stuff because race car. Aluminum radiator, electric fans, which are controlled by the fuel injection unit. This thing is equipped with fast, easy EFI, which you could not really tell under first glance. There are a bundle of wires under here. I tried to hide them as well as I could, and they are running through a hole in the firewall, which is back here. I did drill that hole in the firewall, and I did put that grommet in there, which, you know, it didn't really please me to cut a hole in the firewall, but it does look fairly factory. It's not terribly noticeable. It's not in your face. I didn't want it to be. But we do have a throttle body fuel injection system under here. It is the fast EFI system, which mates really well with the fast easy TCU system that's also on this pickup that is controlling the 4L80E automatic transmission. So we have a 454 big block, fuel injected with an overdrive 4L80E transmission. Now, all of these things went in at different stages in its life, so they didn't all go in at the same time. It was just kind of a one thing after another, and it took me, well, 11 years to get it where it is today, sitting in a barn, not being used. That changes. This summer, we're gonna start driving this thing like normal. We're gonna use this, you know, like you would a regular pickup. That's the goal here. Our master cylinder here for our 4-wheel drum brakes, which I've rebuilt time and time again. and they do clamp pretty well. I did buy this power brake conversion kit on eBay, and I'm really not happy with it. After I installed the power brake kit on eBay, the brakes have been harder and worse to use than without. So I think I'd like to figure that out or remove it, one of the two, because I'm really not happy with the way that that turned out. We do have some ICT billet components on here, like a throttle return, spring bracket, and our EGR block off for our factory 454 intake manifold. The heads, I believe, have been ported, if I remember right. The intake, I believe, has been ported, if I remember right. It does have a double roller timing chain, if I remember right. It's got some heavy duty, pretty tall rocker springs and stuff in it. It's got a milling oil pump. We tack welded the oil pickup tube to the oil pump so it doesn't fall off and lose oil pressure. We do have some really cheap eBay headers that I bought when I was in high school. They didn't fit that great, so I hashed out the frame, which you can see in here. Really proud of that moment. Not really proud of that moment. We do have HEI distributor back here, and we do have power steering box in the pickup, power steering box, but I deleted the power steering because I could not find brackets for it. Well, as August gets better in his life and his knowledge and his internet skills, I was able to pick up a set of ICT billet, I think, yep, power steering brackets on the interwebs. I think this whole kit was like 40 bucks or something. So I've been going without power steering for 11 years. I mean, I haven't been driving it either, so really not hurting anything. For the price of $40. I do have the pump somewhere. We're gonna have to search for that pump, but I do have the power steering pump somewhere. So that'll be a project, probably not for this episode, but for another episode. Today, we just want to get this thing running and driving. We do have a set of 16x8 steel wheels all the way around. This thing has had like 3 or 4 set of wheels on it. When I bought it, it had white steelies on it with, I think it had the trim rings and the hubcaps. And then we went to a pair of like 2004 Chevy HD wheels, which were polished. I did kind of like that look, but I ended up trading them because I wanted to go with 20-inch wheels. I put the 20-inch wheels on here, did not like that. Tires were too big. I did not like the look of the 20s. The offset was totally wrong. So I got rid of the 20s and I went back to Steelies and I painted them black, and we got the trim rings on and the hubcaps on the front. Hubcaps are not on the back because the 3/4 ton differential sticks out too far and hits the hubcaps, and I haven't modified that to work yet. So folks, I think that about covers it for the walk around of this. Why don't we see if we can get this thing running? This is gonna be a little bit, but we're gonna have to clean out a bunch of stuff. Let's see if she even starts up and runs, and that'll be the next step. All right, let's get to work. We've got a guy coming to fix our flat tire on our tractor, so we've got to move Bad Chad to somewhere else in the yard. I don't know where I'm gonna put him yet, but we'll find somewhere. I'm gonna put him somewhere else in the yard. Make room for this guy to come through and replace our flat tire on our tractor. She's pretty flat, but it's only flat on the bottom. What do you think, guys? New tow rig for the race car trailer? I'd say it looks pretty good. Gosh dang. Unreal that people used to do that back in the day. I've seen some pretty old 48-foot race car trailers, so I knew that they used to be towed by rigs just like that. Wild. All right, now this guy can get in here. He's got plenty of room to get to the tire. Fix that up for us. Let's get back to our job for the day, which is, bam, 68 C20. What are you doing, bud? Well, it turns out, guys, I had the battery tender on the battery already. So we do have a battery tender, and it's showing full green light. Full green light on battery tender is battery charge is complete. So we should, in theory, have a battery charged all the way up to 12.5 volts or whatever this charges it to. My cables on here are pretty loose. So, you know, that's a really good sign. This one's broken, so that's really cool. But I don't have cables to replace it, so we're gonna use the ones that suck. Dang, guys, I am good at putting stuff together. Check this out. Radiator. Here are my sweet custom radiator mounting brackets. There's one on each side. Well, check this out. The radiator is just floating in there, and I've got all sorts of play on my brackets. I could even lift that up all the way out of the way, and this radiator just fall right out of there. Gosh, dang it, I am good at what I do. Let's get another close-up on how much of a hack I am. So I've got these zip ties holding up my transmission cooler here, which works really well. But check it out, we've got actual mounting holes. It's probably really hard to see that with the way my camera angle is, but we've got actual mounting holes on the bracket for this transmission cooler, and I didn't even utilize any of them to mount this other than with a zip tie. I could have run a piece of sheet metal all the way up to this hole or that hole or this hole or drilled a hole, and I could have mounted this thing the way it's supposed to be mounted and not have to worry about one of these zip ties coming loose. So good job, August, on that. All right, let's go ahead here and check the oil. Pull the dipstick here. Boy, I don't know why I ever put a black dipstick in this stupid thing. Boy, it's really hard to tell what our oil level is here, but we are sitting right at full, like dead on. Gosh, I'm good. I don't know when the last time I changed oil is, but it'll work. Good enough for who it's for, of course. That's me, by the way. All right, our next task at hand here is going to be checking the fuel pressure. So I'm going to go ahead and spin the key, and you guys let me know when I get up to 58 PSI. This here is 60, so if we can get up anywhere above 55, you guys let me know and I'll come back out. All right, guys, thanks for letting me know. Looks like we got just about 58 PSI of fuel pressure. We should be ready to go ahead and see if we can't start this thing. This is gonna be, well, probably easiest barn find ever. Now that I said that, we're gonna have a catastrophic failure and like throw a rod through the block or something. I don't know. But we got oil in it. We've got fuel pressure. I don't really know what else we need. Battery. Need some battery juice, I guess. That's on the charger. What are we saying now after we ran fuel pump? After we ran fuel pump twice, we are saying charging, not even 80%. So right about now, I have pretty low confidence that our battery is gonna hold. I don't know how old this thing is. Does it say on here somewhere? Yeah, I mean, it should, but of course, I don't have it. So why don't we go hop inside the cab and see if we can't turn this thing over. All right, folks, so here's the really cool thing that I like about the fast, easy EFI system. Now we're sitting here in the cab of my 1968 Chevrolet C20. We're about to fire this thing up for the first time in, well, at least a couple years. And let's go ahead. Let's key this thing on. This is my favorite part about the fast, easy EFI. Key on. We're going to give it a boot cycle. It's probably going to share the logo here or not. And we go to this screen, which is really cool because it's configurable. We got a bunch of different presets here. You can see we got a bunch of different kinds of gauges we can see. We've got master. Go back here, we can go home, setup wizard, live data, advanced. You can do diagnostics. So if you got trouble codes in your ECU or something, you can do it through there. You can even power off this little display if you want to, but I like seeing the live data. So you can see our coolant temperature is 47 degrees because that's how warm it is outside. Throttle position sensor, we've got 0. Let's go ahead and we can get 100 out of that sucker. So we've got good throttle position reading. Air temp 51 degrees, so it's somewhere between 51 and 47 degrees outside. Coolant temperature probably takes longer to warm up than the intake air temperature says. Battery, we've got 12.4 volts, so we've got good voltage. I haven't load tested the battery, but we do have good voltage. So let's go ahead and see what we can do. Let's try to turn this thing over here. We've got our Sun Pro Tac. I'm not sure if that is going to give us a good reading, or maybe our fast is going to give us a good reading. I'll just put you guys on the fast here, and you can see how this thing works when it is trying to do a startup cycle. Looks like our battery is doing pretty good. It's cranking over just fine. Holding pretty good voltage. We got no start yet, but look at this. We do have pretty great oil pressure. We are maxing out the gauge at 80 pounds. So we've got great oil pressure. Still no start. I'm gonna go ahead and let that battery just get a little more juice in it yet again. And let's go see if we can't figure out why we don't got any start on this thing. I love troubleshooting problems, except this one seems like an electrical problem, so that's great. The reason I say that is because all my systems were in place. I had oil in the engine, and it turned over great. I've got a high torque mini starter on this rig, and it was turning over really nice, pretty fast actually. We had fuel pressure at the fuel pressure regulator, which is right by the engine. I've only got probably less than 24 inches of line between the fuel pressure regulator and the throttle body. So the other thing that it could be is maybe we have a fuel leak, I guess, between the regulator and the throttle body. And that could be giving us a low fuel pressure at the throttle body. Therefore, we wouldn't fire the injectors. So that could be a player in the game. Otherwise, we could have a bad ground or a loose ground, even a bad power wire or a loose power wire. You know, it could be a number of different things. Let's get out of this thing and we will look it over and check it out. Troubleshoot. I did end up finding a loose ground. Let's see, this is my ECU power and ECU ground, also for electric fans too. But I did find that this ground was a hair loose, so I tightened that up. Fast or easy EFI does say that you need a really clean direct to battery power and ground for the ECU that's in the cab. So if it's any interference or if it's loose or anything like that, then we will get you know, a no start situation like this. I did look for any fuel leaks and I'm good on the fuel system. So we should be all right with that. We still have our battery tender charging the battery here. So now we do have a loose, or a tight ground, I should say, and a tight power here. We do have a loose power here and a somewhat tight ground here, but this is only for the rest of the pickup, like the the ignition for the distributor and the headlights, tail lights, you know, stuff inside, cigarette lighter, stuff like that. That's all that these two terminals are for. These two terminals are for the ECU, for the fuel injection and for the transmission. So ECU and TCU. So now that we have our loose ground tightened up, why don't we hop back inside the cab and see if we can get this thing running. By the way, this thing, big block, short exhaust, small mufflers. It sounds awesome. All right, folks, temp number 2 for first start in, I don't know, 2-ish years, year and a half. Let's give it a shot. We'll put you guys on the fast again. Let's see if we can start her up. Fuel pump did just run. Oh! No problem. We have a huge O2 correction right now, 28% O2 correction. That's pretty terrible. Let's see if it'll work itself out. It's running! That's awesome. We are getting a little better on the O2 here. Oh, we are near perfect now. Nope, we just went way the other way. Air fuel, we're a bit rich, or a bit lean, I mean. I like it in that 11 to 1. So, well, we are idling, so idling is going to be, you know, a bit leaner. All right, we're running. That makes me pretty happy. We got good oil pressure, 80 pounds-ish. About the fuel injection is it never really idled that well. It seems to be idling all right now, which makes me pretty happy, but it never did idle that well when I put it on. So yeah, see? Just doesn't really idle that well. Don't really know why. It smells really rich right now. It's probably got something to do with it. Let's give her another rip here. Starts right up though. But our O2 correction is -29, which means we're idling way too rich because it's negative, so it's trying to pull fuel out. I'm pretty sure that's what that means. But gosh, I wonder why that's so uncorrected. I don't know. Yep, see, they were gonna die again. God, see? Gosh, I hate that. The carburetor, I never had those kind of problems with the carburetor. It always idled great. Just got terrible mileage. Idling again, but it's correcting it at -29 again. I don't like that. You guys know if we can tune out on easy EFI? Is there some sort of tuning we can do? I don't know. I really don't. We do have a fuel injection tank underneath the bed here. See, give you guys a little view of that tank. It's out of a 1964 or 5 GTO. I bought the whole tank kit from Tanks Inc. Really great company to work with. They make really great products. So it came with a tank, and I bought straps through them, and I got the fuel injection tank, so it's got baffles and stuff in it. And I also bought the whole fuel pump assembly and level sensor and all that stuff through Tanks Inc. So I've just got one big shipment, and I adapted it to this pickup. I got a 64 or 5 GTO, whatever I got, because it was a bigger tank. I think it's like 24 gallons. So I get a little more capacity, and I get the fuel tank out of the cab and in here underneath the box. So I got better, you know, weight transfer, and I've got the fuel tank out of the cab, which is pretty good for safety and stench. I got the smell out of there. So I just cut a hole in my little tow bumper that I got here, and I got a spring-loaded license plate thing off of a Caprice or Impala or something like that. And I got this cap that all came from Tanks Inc. Looks like we got some beautiful varnish in there. Nice. We'll get some fresh fuel in this thing. I thought I filled it up, but sounds a little empty in there. Hopefully that doesn't have anything to do with the idle. We do have Pioneer plates because I don't want to pay for tabs. Well, folks, we know it runs. We know we got oil. We know we got fuel pressure. We know it runs. We got license because, you know, we don't have to pay tabs. We got the Pioneer plates. And I do have insurance. I carry insurance full-time on this through Haggerty. It's cheap as dirt. Yeah, so we're good to drive it. If it'll drive. You guys think it'll drive? Should we make it drive? Or should I make you wait a whole nother episode? Let's see if it'll drive. But before we can see if it'll drive, we have to clean this garbage up. We've got, you know, brake pads from Bad Chad. Or no, that's actually a caliper. I got to get that back to Mr. Chad himself. Jumper cables, I don't want to run over those. We got some 4x4s here, don't remember why. Coolant hoses for the buggy, which is engineless once again. Battery charger got to get out of the way. This bitchin' ladder that I use way more than I should for how old it is, so we got to get that out of the way. Bunch of stuff back here, extra battery that I think is shot. Pretty sure that's shot battery. Bunch of garbage back here. This toolbox, I think I'm going to put in the back of the Super Duty since I'm not running the topper anymore. Can't run a topper with a bitchin' race trailer, so I think we're going to run a toolbox now. And I got to clean all this stuff out. We got a broom, you know, spare inner fender for this, which I have not put on yet. Let's get this thing cleaned out and see if we can go on a short little cruise. Let's get to cleaning out the box so we can take a drive in this thing without blowing trash everywhere. We are about to get this thing out of the barn for the first time in almost 2 years. So let's go ahead. Let's do the most exciting part of the whole video, which is starting this thing up and driving it out of the door of the barn, where we can get started on making this thing a daily driver once again. Zeus, in. Atta boy. Go for a ride with me? Good boy, buddy. Good boy. Sit. Sit. Good boy. Look at him. Fuel pump click in. Idle in. What do you think, buddy? What do you think, huh? Good boy. All right, let's get this thing out of the barn. C20 is back out of the barn. Oh, my shadow is going to get in the way of this shot because the sun is at a great angle here. Gosh, look at that. Let me get my shadow out of the picture. Back out. The doors are silver because I picked up some rust-free doors back when I was in high school. Oh gosh, I'm so happy this thing is back. Got the dark side here for you. We're gonna get that toolbox out of there. We're gonna put it in the back of my diesel. We're gonna put that toolbox in the back of my diesel over there. That way I got another place to store some stuff while pulling the trailer. And there we go, fuel injection died again. Go fuel injection, they said. It's great, they said. Doesn't idle worth a dang. Really unhappy with that. Really unhappy with that. In. Good boy, buddy. It is really windy outside right now, but that's not going to stop us from getting some work done. The windshield is so dusty. I hope you guys can see this on camera, that I cannot see out of the windshield, especially when the sun is glaring on it. So before we go for a quick spin, I want to make sure I just wipe off the windshield real quick so that we can see when we're driving. Safety third. All right, folks, Zeus and I are going to see if we can go for a little bit of a cruise. Oh, yeah. Brakes seem to work pretty good. What do you think, buddy? You like this? You like this thing? I like this thing. Can you believe I bought this 15 years ago? not 15 years ago, 12 years ago. Only 12 years. Oh, I forgot to air up the tires. Ah, you're right, it's fine. Second gear. We've got a little road on our property here, down the section line. It's probably approximately a mile, maybe not quite a mile. But we'll just we'll take the section line for a cruise. We'll see how it does on that. What do you smell, Zeus? What do you smell? Can you sit down? Sit. Sit. Good boy. I wonder if the fuel injection just has to go through more of a learning phase. I don't remember how long the learning phase was, but remember, I haven't driven this very many miles, so maybe with the more miles that I drive it, the better it'll get. I'm kind of hoping that's the case, I guess, because it's really not that great now, and I'd really like it to be. It cruises really great, everything except for idle. It does everything great except for idle. See, just died. Well, we're at the end of the section line. It did okay. Cruise-wise, it did great. We got 2 gears, first and second, and reverse. I guess we got reverse, so that's technically 3 gears, right? No power steering. Really not that fun. It's not that bad when you're moving. The steering wheel I think is like 17 inches, so it's pretty good size. So once you're moving, it's actually not that bad to turn this thing, but at low speed, it's terrible. Try backing up a trailer with no power steering. Oh, not the most fun I've ever had. But keep in mind, I never used to have power brakes on this either, so it was a full manual vehicle. Manual windows, manual locks, manual brakes, manual steering, manual headlights, manual transmission. It used to be, and now it's automatic, but this used to be a man's pickup if I've ever heard of it. I wonder if the radio works. Turns on. We get some static. That's a start. I don't even know how many speakers are in here. Probably none. Hard to say. 25% throttle. Really getting down and dirty. Idling right now, we're only at a 6% correction factor, -6. Now we're at a +2. I like it when it's right in there. It does say, it's got this green light, and it does say that it's learning, so I don't know what that means, but probably a good thing. Looks like somebody just graded the road, probably my neighbor Dennis, and I don't really want to screw up his work, so let's see if we'll go down the other way here. Oh. Can you guys hear that? Oh my Lord. Boy, I would really like to get the exhaust out past the back of the cab. The drone in here is terrible. Unreal. Throttle. It was pretty rich there, and then it corrected and it went to a 0% correction factor, and it really picked up some steam, but now we just died, so that's really helpful. At least it starts right back up again. Now we're on the main county road. This is what I'm talking about. Should we close Zeus's door here? Throw it in neutral. Oh yeah, pretty good throttle response. happy with that. Except it dies. There we go. Closed. This one's even closed. All right, let's go for a cruise. Calculated fuel mileage, which was like 2 years ago, something. And we got 9 miles to the gallon. And I think got a trailer on it too. So that is unreal for a 1968 with a big block. Awesome. I'm really not going to complain. It took me a lot of money to get from 4.5 miles to the gallon up to 9. But I'm not going to complain. I'm pretty happy with it. Correction factor is still negative 25%. Crazy. Why can't we just... Why? Drop a comment below. Can you tune a fast, easy EFI system? Is there a way that you can make that better? 'Cause right now it is not. Not good. Zeus really likes to be pet. I'm running at a 17% throttle position, and we're at an O2 correction factor at negative 25. The learning light is flashing right now. I don't know what that means. Lay down, buddy. Lay down. There you go. Coolant temperature 179 degrees. Air temperature 95 degrees, or intake air temperature I should say, 95 degrees. Battery is charging at 13 volts. The electric fans are on. I believe I have them coming on at 180. I don't know what our speed is. Zeus, that's not going to work, man. Sure what our speed is. We can see the speed on the other box. This is the transmission controller unit. This allows us to see our speed. We'll just select live data. And boom, we can see RPM, which we already know because of the fast display module over here. We can see miles per hour because we program our tire size and our gear and all that stuff, so I can actually see mile per hour, which right now we're traveling at 38 miles per hour. And I can see our gear. Right now we're in 4th gear, and the converter is unlocked. There is a little, like, you know, you take a multiple choice test and you fill in the A, B, C, or D, and you fill it in with your pencil. Well, that's what we got here. There's a display. I don't know how well you guys can see that on camera, but there's a little torque converter thing, and when the torque converter is locked, it's just a black bullet point. So the torque converter is unlocked. We're in 4th gear. That's pretty sweet. I kind of like that. That's cool. This pickup is really good. It's got a lot of good stuff. It's not great, but it's pretty good. How long of a drive should we go for, folks? Let's run to town. Let's put some gas in this thing. 2nd gear, 20 miles an hour. 3rd gear, shift points suck. You can tune the shift points in here. I haven't driven it enough to do that, but you can. We're already in 4th gear. We're traveling 35 miles an hour. Torque converter's unlocked. There we went into 3rd gear, 4th gear again. Torque converter locked. When that thing locks, it is like a BAM! It's gonna hit you. Throws you back in the seat a little bit. We are now traveling at, let's go 65 enjoy it. All right, guys, just pulling into town here. We're gonna get some gas and continue on the loop back home. All right, folks, we are done with gas. I've got some bad news. Remember how I said the radiator's kind of wiggly? Yeah, well, it wiggled out, and then the alternator pulley was rubbing on the upper radiator hose, and we put a dog dang hole in the upper radiator hose. So now we're losing coolant. We're not getting hot yet, so we're just gonna try to make it home. I think it's like 8 miles, something like that, to home, and then we'll park it. We'll get a new radiator hose and some coolant and what have you. I was gonna go up to Moritz-Gees and cruise on by my boss Chad's house, but bad Chad. You know, you guys are giving me some flack about the Bad Chad nickname, and you know, you're right. Nobody in the world has ever used the same nickname on more than one person. I've never known a William that has had a nickname Willie. I've never known 2 people named Willie. Never. You know? Never known 2 people named Bradley that go by Brad. I've never known 2 Zacharys that go by Zach. So, you're right. I can't use Bad Chad because somebody else has. Well, folks, Zeus and I made it back home to the farm. We were going to go on a couple extra errands, but since we got a hole in our radiator hose, we are not going to do that now. So let's go under the hood and look and see what we have to replace in order to get this thing back in tip-top condition. We did take 11 gallons of fuel in our 24-gallon tank, so I did not leave it full like I thought I did or wanted to. So that was probably not good for our varnish in the fuel tank situation. But as you guys can see, oh man, all sorts of coolant up in here. We have a hole in our radiator hose because the radiator fell back and was rubbing on the pulley. I would also like to look at this because we had some interference with the water pump pulley rubbing on our fan, but I believe we got lucky there and we did not get into any trouble. So good deal. We only got into trouble on our radiator hose, which, you know, that's a pretty easy replacement. You know, just a little bit of coolant, new radiator hose, will be good to go. So the reason that I was rubbing on it is because the radiator fell out of these little homemade bars that I made myself, which tells me we should probably get some better action on that. Probably something a little more secure. Well, there you have it, boys and girls, friends and fans, family and otherwise. The 68 C20 is back in the Mickelson Racing Channel world. We do have a couple small repairs to do, but it is minor stuff. We can start driving this thing again. I was gonna drive it tonight and tomorrow to work, but you know, with a leaky radiator hose, we're probably not gonna make that happen. But that's okay. We know what we gotta do to get her fixed, back on the road. This is gonna be a driver this summer. More of this rig on the channel in the future. Definitely more to come on this. Don't forget to like and subscribe right here in the corner of this video. I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you for supporting us. We'll see you next week on the Mickelson Racing Channel.